And action! Welcome back to another episode of Written and Directed by. I am Harrison Berger, your host. How is everybody doing? I hope your week was great. Mine was. It just was something. I don't even remember what happened this week. There's a lot going on. It flew by wicked fast. Which is either good or bad. I feel like most days are blending into one another now, and that's okay. This producing this Costa Rica film has just been taking up all of my time, and it's fine because this is what I want to do, and I know I've been talking about it for a while, but sorry guys, if you don't want to hear about the Costa Rica film, then you shouldn't be listening, but please still listen. The Costa Rica film is it's gonna be taking up a good portion of my life for the rest of the year. We don't start filming until September, October, and even then it won't be done till probably the editing won't be done until January. So it's gonna go on for a while, for the next, it's gonna be a part of my life for at least the next full year, even more after we do festivals, and when we do marketing and all sorts of things. That I'm gonna be on this ride for quite a while, and that's okay. I have plenty of other things planned for myself, even during the downtimes of after production. I have a film that my film that I wrote and that I plan on directing, and all of the fruits that this Costa Rica tree has bared will allow me to do my film, which is awesome. So it being a headache and a lot of trial and error, and a lot of heated arguments at times, and just figuring things out, planning certain things, structuring certain things. And it's been a huge learning experience. There's a lot here that I've never had to do for myself on films, and this has just been a fantastic learning experience thus far, and I know it will only continue to be so. And it's one of the most exciting times. What could you ask for? 4 friends working on a movie together, going to a tropical paradise for a couple months. That's come on, So yeah, we have a meeting tomorrow. Justin and I have been working on some rewriting and trying to punch up the script. We're basically script punchers, script doctors. We're trying to get this thing to where it's A1. There's a few moments where I think it just needed a little bit more punching up, and I think after Justin and I went through it, we kind of figured it out, which is awesome, because we just want to make a good movie, and that's it. So we've been working diligently, and tomorrow is another meeting. We had 2 meetings, or I did at least, on the film this week. We had one on Monday. We talked with one of the guys that it's going to be I'm going to call him our investor liaison, because that's kind of what he's been doing. And we just had another meeting with him in regards to all of the documents that we've been putting together for him, and seeing what needs to be changed and what the next steps are. And then I also had a meeting with the writer, because he lives in Costa Rica. We were talking about, we were putting together our itinerary for the film, which we should have sent out yesterday to the investor liaison. I'm gonna send that out tomorrow once I gotta fine tune it. Sorry, I'm thinking about what I need to do. So yeah, things on that front are going well, and it's crazy. I mean, it's only February, but January just blew by. We're already about, Monday's gonna be the second week of February, so that's crazy. So I only know that September is going to creep up really soon, and we need to get things going. We just need that first domino to tip over, and then the rest will just, and then it'll be an unstoppable force of whatever it is. But yeah, it's happening, and things keep falling into place, and there are some tricky moments, but that's film, and we just need to work through it as a group, as a team, and we'll do it. We got this thing on lock. We have this thing in the bag. We know what we're doing. We just need to finesse a few things, and we will have it for sure. I just realized I forgot to turn off all the settings on my phone, so hopefully it doesn't get interrupted by a phone call or nothing. Normally do that, but I forgot. So some cool news is my podcast host site, Anchor. This is not an endorsement. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, my host site, Anchor, is amazing. First of all, it's the easiest. This is not an ad. I'm not trying to throw another ad in here because I know I have ads, but they're an amazing platform to host and post podcasts. But they recently, as of last week, or this past week, they joined with Spotify. So I guess Spotify bought them, and now they're fully integrated with Spotify. A lot of the things have not changed as far as user interface, but what they did say, which would be a huge benefit for people who post like me, is that the analytics will be better. So that's cool. So congratulations to Anchor for joining with Spotify. That's amazing, and I love Spotify. Who doesn't love Spotify? That's awesome. I always love when a company can expand, and I'm sure that the guys that created Anchor are pretty happy. I would be. Yeah, it was Justin's birthday this week. I wrote him. He actually left it here. I wrote him a really lengthy birthday card letter thing. Just wanted to do something nice. I got him a book, something that inspired me. I'm like in this mood recently of like giving things to people that I know have inspired me to change how I think and feel about certain things, or how I go about tackling goals and dreams and things like that. So I got him a book. I got him The Alchemist. I know I've talked about it before on this podcast because I love that book. It's one of my top 5. I got him that book, and we'll see what he thinks when he's done reading it. But I left him a little note about it, and I think he'll really enjoy the book. I've never seen the guy read that much other than a script or like an article, so hopefully he does read it. But, if not, it's okay. Yeah, I don't mind. I just, it's just something that inspired me to think differently, and I just want to pass that along. I just want to, like, the things that I find in life is, if I find something that helps me, then I'm going to pass it along. Like, that's the point of this podcast. These are, and everything I talk about solo, or everything I talk about with friends, they're all things that I have found that help me, or that the guests have found that help them, and by putting them out here, then we can pass along the knowledge for others that may need it. And that, I think that's the secret to success, right? Is to pass along the knowledge, pass along those things that I don't know, make you feel good, make you just want to wake up the next morning and tackle whatever it is that you have to tackle. And I'm also reading another book at the moment that talks about stuff like that. And it's just fascinating, because when you focus on one thing, when you focus on just the monetary of your goals, or the even if your goals don't have to do with money, but if you focus on the materialistic outcome instead of the spiritual, the gratitude qualities, the qualities that have to deal with helping and being grateful. And as soon as when you can separate those and you can focus on how is this helping me, how is this helping others, and that's when I think you become more successful, more like things start to flourish more for you. Because when you're only in it from the money, or you're only in that thing for the materialistic gain, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. As I'm in a profession where the monetary outcomes could be extremely high, or they could be extremely low. Just depends on how successful I become. It depends on which avenue I go through with filmmaking. It really all depends on just what happens, what path I wind up taking in the outcome of the journey. But I've never wanted to become an artist for the money. A couple of weeks ago, I talked to you guys about how I wanted to become an illustrator. I grew up with the struggling artist thing and being told to me all the time, and so I always knew that finding success in art would come at a certain point, but that it sometimes it doesn't happen because a lot of people don't get successful in arts unless you're a very famous painter. And even then, most of the famous painters that we know of have long died, and their work has only become so renowned because they're dead and they can't produce more. That's the reason why those painters become so famous, is because like people like Van Gogh or Picasso, like they're only so famous to us is because when they died, their work wouldn't be able to get created during their lifetime. No one really cared. Maybe like, Dali or Picasso, because their work was so, it was so revolutionary. Is that the right word? I mean, they were those artists were doing things that no one else was doing at a certain point. They and so those types of people got recognition. So I think, like, if you're just making art to make art, and it's kind of the same as everyone else, and it's not like that out of the box, and then it's hard to make money. It's hard to become greater, and that's when you have to kind of open yourself to being very outside of the box. Like, a lot of these famous artists were outside of the box. Dali, Chuck Close, Picasso, Jackson Pollock. Those artists were so outside of the box. They did things that no one was doing, and that's why they've been so renowned and so known. And it's the same thing even in film. Like, there's so many people trying to do film, so many people trying to make it in film, and it's like, okay, well, how do we separate ourselves from all the others? How do we become different? And it's all about finding your voice, finding what separates you from all the others, all the sea of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that come to LA that are in other states and countries that want to make films, and we're all trying to make films. We're all trying to be the guy in Hollywood. We're all trying to win an Oscar for our movies. Like, those are all the long-term goals that we want to happen because we make movies, and we see what happens when you make movies. But those things only happen when you think outside of the box. And it's so easy just to watch a movie and be like, oh, that's the coolest fucking movie I've ever seen, and you want to go try and remake that. And that's okay. Like, you should do that because that's how you learn. Like, you should go and shoot a scene from Pulp Fiction. You should go and shoot a scene from Indiana Jones, and like and try to figure out how Spielberg, lit a shot, and how he framed it, and how he staged all the actors and whatever. And same thing with Tarantino. To try to break it down from watching it and try to rebuild it yourself. Like, that's how you learn. That's how you can see and learn and like actually experience how these professionals did it. But you can't just keep cookie cuttering. You can't keep tracing. It's like, as an artist, someone that draws, you're never gonna grow or develop your own unique style if you trace other people's styles. Yes, draw Batman 20 times, draw Superman 20 times, figure out how Superman moves and how his structure is, and how, like, the differences between Batman and Superman, physically. And doing that is great because you're studying it, right? If you look at it as a study and you see how other artists draw these characters, they're not all the same. Like, Jim Lee's Batman and Greg Capullo's Batman are totally different Batman. They're Batman and they're Bruce Wayne, but their style, like, like, when you look at Greg Capullo, you're like, that's Greg Capullo. Even if you don't, like, he's got such a specific way that he draws that instantly when you're looking at a comic that was done by Greg Capullo, you're like, that's it. And even if it's not Batman, even if it's Rebirth that he just did recently, and you're like, that's Greg Capullo. I was scrolling through the comic book website where I look and buy my comics, and I saw the cover. I'm like, that looks like Greg Capullo. And I opened it up, and sure enough, it was him. And it wasn't even a Batman. So it's the same thing. Like, and I've been struggling for a while trying to do that with my art, especially with when I draw comics. Is how do I find my own unique style of drawing? And a lot of people say that there isn't, like, you don't develop a style. I don't believe those people. I've been told a lot that, but it just clearly people have different styles. That's why there's so many different artists. So many different genres of comics and graphic novels, is because of the way people draw. There's a certain style to it. It's like when you watch The Walking Dead versus I Love Lucy. It's like there are two different styles of TV. One is very lighthearted and comedic, and the other one is very dark and gritty. Like, you would never put them juxtaposed, you would never set them side by side and say they're the same, because even if they're not. Even if you did I Love Lucy and The Three Stooges, those are two comedies, but they're very different comedy shows. So there's a style, and every artist has their style. Spielberg has his own style. Tarantino has his own style. Christopher Nolan has his own style. Everyone has a style that makes them uniquely them. They all film things differently. They all set up their shots differently. They all have signature things that they do and add to things to make it their own and unique way that when you watch, you're like, oh, that's that person. And maybe you like flip through the channels and you saw the movie or show halfway and you're like, that's from that guy, because I know how he does this. I know that when he does a battle scene, that his blood is over the top, or that he has these long crane shots, or that guy, he has a sense of like the way he grounds the characters in reality. And that's that's a hard thing to do. I mean, everyone has their own way of doing things, even if it's not extremely recognizable right off the bat. That even if you completely copy someone, if you're gonna make a film shot for shot remake, like, there will still be a sense of yourself within that movie. Like, if you wanted to what's a really easy simple, like, if you wanted to do a shot for shot remake of Reservoir Dogs, it's a fairly simple movie to do, and you're like, we're gonna do every single thing the same. We're gonna, different actors. We'll try to use similar locations, but there will still always be something that's different. even if you do everything the same way, use the same cameras, the same lenses, blah, 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 same blocking. As a director, you always find some way to change something because everyone sees something differently. The way I see this Costa Rica movie is not the way that the director sees it, because when we direct things, we both have different visions stylistically of what we see. The way I see this movie is on a huge, massive, grand scale with cameras and just epic shots of Costa Rica and just these beautiful Panavision just style, like massive, like just these crazy cinematic things. But the way that he sees it is it happens on one camera. It happens from the point of view of the camera, and the people are holding the camera. It's a found footage film. So when he wrote it, or when he wrote it with his cousin, and when he was, they were coming up with the idea, that's how they were picturing it. And when I read it, that's not how I pictured it. But because of our styles are so differently, he found his voice doing that, right? And that's what you have to do. You have to, and it takes time. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight. I mean, it could happen overnight. You could wake up one morning and be like, oh, that's how it has to go. But I mean, it takes time. You have to go through periods of time where you experiment with things. And we're back from that break. Sorry. I was listening to this ad, and I think I got to record it. I'm not a fan of this ad. The way I did this, it was my first ad, so I apologize. But getting back into it, you need the experience. You need to experiment and try new things. If you want to become an artist, you want to become an illustrator, you have to try out all sorts of different medium, right? You gotta try pencils and pens and inks and then markers, and you gotta test out ink pens and dip pens and all sorts of things until you find what fits your drawing style the best. You look at all these artists, right? And you go on their Instagram and you see that they're using these paintbrushes to ink, or you see another guy using these micron pens, or you see another guy using just a black pencil. You see a guy using just a black colored pencil to do his inks, quote unquote. And so you see how everyone does that, and you buy their materials. You spend all the money, you spend all that money to buy those materials that those people use it. But you find the one thing that best fits you, because you're not going to be able to walk into your brother or sister's bedroom and pull out their pair of pants and them fit you perfectly, unless you're identical twins, or you happen to be the same waist size. But most of the time, you can't just put on someone else's shoes and be like, yeah, these fit, and walk out. I can't put on Justin's shoes. He's a much smaller guy than me. We don't have the same feet. So it's like, why would you think that you pick up the same instrument, the same pen that artist has, and then you instantly draw like that? You don't. You're always going to draw the way that you know how to draw. And it'll never, you can copy someone's style for sure. You can learn how to draw another style. If you watch cartoons, you watch or you read graphic novels, most of the time those people, those companies, those shows have teams of people. An animated show has a team of people working on the show. Family Guy, when I went to the studio years ago, I met all the different animators. There's a guy that animates. There's a different person for each character. They animate each character because they have a 30-minute show, and then they have 20 episodes a year, give or take. So one guy can't do it all. There's a guy that does the background. There's a guy that does, just the random things. So one person couldn't do it all. So you have to be able to match. Everything has to look the same. So to be, you could for sure figure out how to mimic and imitate another style. But when you go home and you start drawing by yourself, your style will hopefully come out. Otherwise, you're just tracing, right, or copycatting. And that's for anything. That's if you're this finding your voice is for anything. It's as a writer, it's you have to. The bottom line, you have to be true to yourself. Whatever comes out, whatever flows from you is your voice. The second you start mimicking another person, now you're using their voice. The second you start telling jokes that are another comedian's jokes, and then you're like, but you like want them to be yours, you're stealing, you're copywriting from another person, and you're not being true to yourself. I mean, yeah, you have to get influence. You have to figure things out. But once you just kind of draw or direct or write or speak from the heart, that's when you find your true voice, and you're just more authentic that way. And finding your voice could mean a multitude of things. It could be speaking. It could be, that you're scared to speak to people, that you're afraid to tell someone how you feel. But like I said, you just have to everything has to come from yourself. It all has to come from self-love. It has to come from your heart. And if you can deliver your art, you can deliver your speech, your writing, then it's going to be authentically you. And that's what you have to do. Everything that you do has to be authentically you. When it's not people, that's the crazy thing about people, especially the people who are in tune to themselves and to others. They know when others are not being authentic. It's so easy to know when someone's being fake. A lot of people can, you can be in a conversation and you walk away and you're like, didn't that person feel really fake to you? And that's because they were fake, because they're trying to be something that they're not, and you were able to pick up on it. There are so many people like that. There are so many people that are fake. Come to LA. You'll see they're all over the place. But that's because they want to fit into a society that deems them that they have to do that. Like they feel like they have to act and look a certain way because their friends act and look that way. And it's just, one, it's unhealthy, and two, it's there's no need to, because now you have like 70 billion jillion people that are all the same, and which is fine for me because now it's easier for my voice to get out there and cut through all the shit. But that's why there's so many problems. There's so many people that people dislike a lot of people, and that's because everyone's trying to be like the next person. No one wants to be themselves. Everyone would rather hide behind a facade and use that to deliver who they are. People hide behind profiles online and comment the worst things that they could. They say shit to people that they would never say in person to anyone, because it's so easy to hide behind a screen and say things that no one will ever know came from you. And fuck, I don't know. It's crazy. People are crazy, and I don't know. Social media fucks up a lot of people. It's and it's not easy. It's not easy to find your own voice. Everyone has one, though. Everyone has their own unique individual voice. But the problem is a lot of people get shut down at young ages. They get shut down by fear, first and foremost. The fear of looking foolish in front of others, and the fear of embarrassment, the fear of not being accepted because of the way you think. And one of the things that my mom says is that when you go to kindergarten and the teacher asks you a question, everyone raises their hands. But as you go through the years and you get to high school, you get to your senior year, and the teacher asks the question, no one really raises their hand anymore, because the fear that has been instilled and like pushed upon over the years has just, those thoughts have gathered that you don't want to look like an idiot in front of your classmates. maybe there's a girl you like or a guy you like there that you don't want to make yourself look stupid. You don't want to like risk the chance that you have the wrong answer, or you just, I don't know, for whatever reason. And it also comes down to the lack of confidence in yourself. It's a shame that it happens in our society, that we get we have like these emotions that we feel that are like, oh, we can't do that because of this, and what will they think? Well, what will Janice think? What will Max think of me? But it's bullshit, and people go through life like that. People in their 40s go through that shit. They're like, oh, what will Jared from accounting think if I bring this up and it just doesn't go right, some shit like that. And we shouldn't be afraid to speak our minds, to put out there what we feel. I don't know. I hope that can change, that those things won't be that prevalent, that we can all just speak how we want to. We can all speak from the heart and just feel. I don't know. It's easy to like talk about, but like to do it, even I have a hard time still. I may talk about all these things that I talk about, but I still struggle with a lot of them, trying to to express myself and not feel judgment. There's always that sense of fear. Fear doesn't go away. It's just, how do we manage it? How do we keep it in check? Fear is that little shadow that that we always have to make sure that quickly shine the flashlight on to scare away. There's always fear. Always looms when you don't want it to, and when it does, it's when you start to clam up. And one of the things that I've decided to do is, when something scares me, instead of fearing away from it, is to face it head on. This Costa Rica film, I almost didn't want to do it because to produce a feature film in a different country, and as it's expanded as we've gone on, but at the time I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it. It's a lot to do. I've never done it. And I was frightened because I didn't know what I was going to do. I don't know what I'm doing. That's the thing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I do to a degree, but like, I've never done this. And that's the thing that excites me the most about this, is that I'm learning how to do this. So now when this is all over, I will have a plethora of information that I've gained and knowledge that when I make my movie, and when I make any movie in the future, and I'll know what goes into it. I'll know like what I need to look for specifically, where to like cut things out and blah, 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 blah. I'll know because I've done it. And so far, it's been the greatest thing I've ever done. It's been the most fulfilling and rewarding thing I've ever done. And so you have Will Smith said it. The peak. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the quote in front of me, but the optimum. The optimum form of oh Jesus, what's the quote? And I'm blanking on specific words. It's like the peak form of excitement comes at the edge of fear. Is basically what it is. When you're at the edge and you're staring down, and you're like you're about to jump out of the airplane, and you're staring at the edge of the plane. You're like, I don't want to do it. But as soon as you jump, you're having the most blissful moment of your life. That's what it is. It's like, how do you cross that threshold to get to the excitement, to get to the point of bliss? and not let fear hold you back. Because, do you know how many opportunities we miss out on because we let ourselves succumb to fear? Because we're fearful of like what might happen on the other side of that decision, that we miss out on so much of life. And like when like your friends want to do something, you're like, no, I don't want to. It's because you're scared, and then they do it and they come back. We had the greatest time of our lives. You should have been there. Blah blah blah. You fucked up, and then you regret it. Why would you go through life with regrets? It might be scary as fuck, but just do it. Because then when you come back, you're like, well, it was really scary, but at least I did it, right? And we can't just let ourselves be held back by fear. It's really easy. It's really easy to do, and it's something that we all have to work on. It's all something that we have to realize that fear doesn't control us. Fear doesn't control our minds. We control our minds. Our hearts control our minds. And as soon as we could recognize that fear doesn't control us, oh shit, son. Life gets fucking exciting. Man, when you realize that nothing can hold you back, and it's only you that holds you back, and it's only you that controls you, and that it's you that can push you forward. Oh, fuck. Nothing can stop you. You're unstoppable. And you can make yourself unstoppable. Everything is how you think of it. It's all your mind. Your mind plays games our minds play games to ourselves, and our minds try to trick us out of doing certain things. They try to prevent us from feeling certain ways because they know that we've experienced these things before, or we've seen them in movies, and we don't want those things to happen. But as soon as you got to go with your gut. If your gut says jump, then jump, you always got to go with your first instinct. The second you start thinking and overthinking about things is where you fuck up. And it's super easy to start going, well, I think I should probably think this over. You fucked up. So that's one thing I started doing too, is acting on first instinct and not letting anything stop me from doing what I want. Because it's not other people stopping you, it's you. Yeah. I don't know. Wow, that was a rant. I think we kind of got off on finding your voice topic. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought. Did you guys like this one? I would love to hear some of your opinions and comments. And if you guys want to talk about things, let me know. If you guys have topics you would like me to discuss, please let me know. I'm very excited. I have doing a bunch of recordings this week. I'm actually going to get some pre-recorded, have a little bit extra time to edit some of them. I have a guest coming tomorrow, I have a guest coming on Monday. So things are going to be great. I have another guest geared up for next weekend. So I'm actually really fucking excited, guys. I have 3 great guests that are coming on. I can't wait. I can't wait for you guys to hear them. They're some great, amazing people, and I honestly can't wait to hear their thoughts on a lot of things that I have for them. So if you have any questions for me, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think. Pass it along to your friends and family. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. You can find it on Spotify. I'm on like over 10 different podcast sites and apps. So, wherever you are, thank you for listening to it. I really, truly appreciate you guys. The numbers are going up, and I love it. I love it. Thank you guys so much. Please subscribe to the YouTube podcast so you can see what my beautiful face looks like, and you can see what some of these amazing guests look like and the fun that we have. Follow me on Instagram, Harrison Burger. Follow me on Twitter, Harrison C. Burger. Look at the wacky things I post. And yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. I had a fun time with you. Thanks for listening to Written and Directed by. I am Harrison Berger, and I will see you next week. Cheers, guys. Cut.